So guys, today I am going to discuss about the solved question paper of 2018. The first question came in this exam. The term digger is associated with a group of agrarian communists who flourished in England in 1649 to 50 and were led by Lawrence Clarkson, Gerald Winstanley, George Fox, John Lilburn. So, what is the answer? The answer is Gerald Winstanley. If we discuss about its detail, Gerald Winstanley was the leader of one of the founders of the English group known as the True Levelers or Diggers for their beliefs and for their actions. The group occupied public land that had been privatized by enclosures and dug them over, pulling down heads and filling in ditch to plant crops. True Levelers was the name they used to describe themselves, whereas the term digger was coined by contemporaries. The next question is who viewed Wordsworth, Southey, Coleridge as representatives of sectors of poets, dissenters from the established system in poetry and criticism, who constituted the most formidable conspiracy against sound judgment in matters political. The options are Henry Begum, Francisco, Ralph Vaughan, Francis Jeffrey. So what is the answer? The answer is Francis Jeffrey. If we discuss about its detail, is Francis Jeffrey, one of the leading lights of Edinburgh Review, identified Wordsworth, Southey, Coleridge as sectors of poets who were all dissenters from the established system in poetry and criticism, and whose writing were fueled by splenetic and idle discontent with the existing institutions of society. They constructed a private and public group consciousness. They formed fairly easily recognizable network. They did rewrite the past in order to make it more palatable to public and private audience. They had shared social and educational background and all were to university and were all highly literate and well read. They lived in the same area of country and had every similar political views. They shared a broad-based sympathy with revolutionary France and were disenchanted with British government policy. They pitied the plight of politically and socially disposed and were prepared to speak out in public against the establishment. Overall, they all had literary ambitions and were discontented. We discuss about the third question is this poet was the older generation and was only briefly a member of Communist Party in his poem The Pylons. He averred that the pylons are bare like nut-kinds girls that have no secrets. This prompted the label pylon poets for the new generation of poets who were happy to use the gasworks of pistons of steam engine as poetic imagery. Name this poet. What is the name of this poet? Is Cecil D. Lewis, Christopher Isherwood, Stephen Spender, Louis MacNeice. So what is the answer? The answer is Stephen Spender. Stephen Spender was a member of generation of British poets who came to prominence in 1930s. Pylon School was a nickname given to young group of left-wing poets in 1930s. Pylon poets shared a similarity of theme, image, and diction, and they all rejected the writing of immediately preceding generation. Spender and Orton became famous as pylon poets, among the first to put England's gritty industrial landscape of 1930s into poetry. He developed a style which was lyrical and was an expert in finding appropriate imagery to project a mood or a moral. His poetry is remarkable for the experience which it communicates. So the next we discuss about the next question is, which of the following is the most accurate description of Butler English? A Options are a dialect of English spoken by the descendants of Anglo-Indians, a pidgin also called kitchen English spoken by South Asians in Europe. C option A, minimal pidgin that emerged during colonial times in Madras Presidency. Any non-grammatical variety of English used by Old Kitchen English spoken by South Asian Europe. So the answer is a minimal pidgin that emerged during colonial times in Madras Presidency. So answer is C. If we discuss about the fourth question detail, Butler English, also known as bearer English or kitchen English, is dialect of English that first developed as an occupational dialect in the years of Madras Presidency in India, but that has developed over time and is now associated mainly with social class rather than occupations. It is still spoken in major metropolitan cities. The name derives from its origin with butlers, the head servants of British colonial households, and is the English that they use to communicate with their masters. Butler English persisted into the second half of 20th century beyond the independence of India and was subject to Dravidian influence in its phonology. Next question is St. Coleridge, Dejection and Ode opens with an epigraph which is a reference to ballads. Identify the ballad. What is the name of the ballad? Option A, Ballad of the Goodly Fairy. B. La Belle Dame and Mercy. C. Ballad of Sir Patrick Spence. D. Ballad of Gippet. So, what is the answer? The answer is C. Ballad of Sir Patrick Spence. If we discuss about its detail, an epigraph is just a short introductory quote or a passage to put the reader's head in the right frame of mind heading into the actual work. In this ode, the epigraph comes from the Ballad of Sir Patrick Spence. Sir Patrick is a figure in Scottish folk ballad, a sailor to be exact. In the ballad, the King of Scotland sent Sir Patrick on a mission. The king chooses him because he is known to be the best sailor, but it is the middle of winter and the seas are looking super rough. Even though he thinks that the trip will probably kill him, Sir Patrick dutifully obeys and dies. In the selection that Coleridge uses a start, dejection and ode, Sir Patrick is letting the king know that last night, yestereen, he saw a bad omen, the new moon holding the old one in her arms. Apart from some classic personification, these lines start us off with a sense of foreboding. Our next question is, what is the delicate balancing act of Andrew Marvell's Horatian note? The option 1, praising Roman virtues while endorsing Christian belief, celebrating the restoration while regretting the frivolity of new rhyme, praising feminine virtue while mocking the fixation on chastity, celebrating Cromwell's victories while inviting sympathy for the executed king. So, what is the answer? The answer is D. Option D. If we discuss about this detail, is Horatian Ode is a short lyric poem written in stanzas of 2 or 4 lines in the manners of the 1st century BC. Latin poet 4 lines in manners of the 1st century BC. Latin poets Horace. Horace's tone is generally serious and serene. Horatian Ode is a short lyric poem written in stanza of 2 or 4 lines in manner of 1st century BC. Latin poet Horace. Horace's tone is generally serious and serene, often touched with irony and melancholy, but sometimes with gentle humor. And Horatian Ode operates on several levels. On the surface, it is a conventional celebratory ode about a military and political hero, praising his exploits and virtues. One can infer from Margaret's other laudatory poems about Oliver Cromwell that the poet genuinely admired the Lord Protector. The tone of the poem is not openly ironic, woven into the phrase, however, or hidden behind it are subtle signs indicating an equivocal attitude toward Cromwell and his achievements. In choosing to write a Horatian ode, Marvel did not only express his great admiration for the Roman poets' political identity, intellectual life, and ways of expression, but was also making several implicit statements about his approach to the subject of Cromwell's entrance onto the political scene. The next question is, who among the ancient prescribed that poetry should both instruct and delight? Option A, Longinus; B, Plotinus; C, Aristotle; D, Horace. So what is the answer? The answer is 𝐾𝐲 has observed a tendency among Indian English speakers and writers to use hybridized lexical items. One example of this is jugaad, ping pong, chai wala, lathi charge. So what is the answer? The option number D, lathi charge, is the answer. If we discuss about its detail, Indianization of English has become a reality which can't be overlooked. It is a byproduct of Indian cultural renaissance of the 19th century. Raj Bihari Kachru was an Indian linguist who has considered the process of Indianization of English in detail, maintains that features of English language in India have been considerably influenced by the Indian social culture norms and stipulates rules by which word symbol. By lexical innovation, the particular language gets enriched in the vocabulary as well as in its extensive use. For example, in expressions such as lathi charge, the Indianized elements lathi can't be substituted by another Indian expression danda. Lathi charge uses two different words with a different meaning, each carrying a particular semantic charge to convey the third meaning. The next question is, identify the fireside poets of the USA. William Cullen Bryant, S.W. Longfellow, Oliver Wendell Holmes. Option B, T.S. Eliot, Wallace Stevens, William Carlos Williams. Option C, Marion Murray, Elizabeth Bishop, Anne Seton. Option number D, Amy Lowell, Emily Dickinson, Phyllis Wheatley. So what is the answer? The answer is A, William Cullen Bryant, S.W. Longfellow, Oliver Wendell Holmes. If we discuss about its detail, is the fireside poets include Henry Wordsworth Longfellow, William Cullen Bryant, and Oliver Wendell Holmes, also known as the schoolroom of household poets. उनको schoolroom or household poets were a group of 19th century American poets associated with New England. These poets were very popular among readers and critics both in the United States and overseas. Their domestic themes and messages of morality presented in the conventional poetical forms deeply shaped their era until their decline in popularity at the beginning of 20th century. They were the first American poets whose popularity rivaled that the British poets both at home and abroad. The last question today is, Evelina was published in 1778. A, posthumously. B, using the name Fanny Burney. C, anonymously. D, under a pseudonym. So what is the answer? The answer is anonymously. C, option C is the answer. If we discuss about its detail, Evelina, or the history of a young lady's entrance into the world, was published anonymously in January in 1778. It is the first novel written by Frances Burney. She first appealed to the publisher Robert Dodsley, who rejected the work because he did not want to print it anonymously. Although published anonymously, its authorship was revealed by poet George Hoodsford in what Burney called the Wiley poem. So, guys, this was the final question, and in the next video I will discuss about its next questions. So thank you.